Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this channel. Firstly, thank you to all the Everton fans who had some lovely words to actually say about my previous video on this subject. Um, it's going to be brought up again, but it's going to be brought up with a lot of what you've said. So please do hit the like, the subscribe, the bell button, because this channel is going to become more of a football channel for everybody. A football channel where I talk my mind and say my piece. And at the end of the day, it's somewhere that I can be completely open and honest. It's not just going to be about AFC Bournemouth. So there we go. Um, but there's been a lot of comments that have come in from Everton fans, and I wanted to address some of those as well and put my feelings on it. So let's start off with the first one. Points deduction. 10 points was deducted from Everton last week, and personally, I thought it was a disgrace. And why I think it's a disgrace is because of two things. Firstly, Portsmouth, back all those years ago, went into administration. They were deducted 9 points. This is only the third points deduction that the Premier League have ever given out. So they've given out 9 points for Portsmouth. The last one, of course, was Middlesbrough. When there was a spate of players that couldn't play in a game. I think it was against Blackburn Rovers, if I was right in thinking. So that's the only other one. But how can you deduct Everton 10 points? They've not got into administration. What they've done is they have effectively built a new ground, and it looks a smashing new ground. Now, don't get me wrong, there is probably, and Everton fans will even say this themselves. They said this in the comments. They've said this in videos. I've watched Toffee TV. I've listened to lots of interviews. I wanted to also get an expert on here as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed that will happen, but probably not at this moment in time. We'll see. But the thing is Everton, were building a stadium. Now, the stadium costs, as far as I believe, were actually exempt from this loss that you can make in the Premier League. So Everton have had this one, and I think there has been, some mistakes being made. They've made a bit of a arse end job of it. I'm sure Everton fans will agree, of that. Some financial mishaps, let's put, in how it's presented, but, but, it's not as serious as it's made out to be. Now, what you've also got to keep in mind is they've had a number of things that have gone against them. They've had Usmanov, who, of course, was sanctioned, and therefore, his funding had to come out of Everton. So, of course, because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So that is one issue that has effectively gone against Everton, and they've had no control over that. Let's be honest, they've had no control over that whatsoever. You've also got other things that have happened, like COVID. Yes, the purchases have been poor. Everton fans aren't going to disagree with that. The purchases have been absolutely shocking, some of them, but at the same time, they've had a lot that has gone against them. Now, why I wanted to create this follow-up video is because there's been a lot of other comments as well that have been going around, and two teams in particular have been flagged up. We know who one of them was always going to be. It was always going to be Manchester City. It's always going to be them who are going to, be flagged up as a team that are in direct trouble. And the reason being they're in direct trouble is because of 115 sanctions they've got against them. Now, I'm sure that there's probably going to be enough in there to actually do them 3 times over what Everton have been, if not worse. Now, Man City have hit the jackpot effectively because they've got, and nobody can say that Man City don't deserve this, because they do deserve this bit of luck, because they've been down to the old Division 2, managed to get themselves back up with no money, and then somebody, and let's be fair, like I've always said with the Saudis, if the Emiratis come along and said, right, we want to buy AFC Bournemouth, would we be moaning? Of course we wouldn't. Of course we wouldn't. We'd be like, yeah, that's great. But if they did the same under AFC Bournemouth's name as they've done against Manchester City's name, and I, I've got to say, I have to say, you know, I do, respect the owners of Man City because I think, they always come across as very, very nice people. They always come across as, people that just want the best for that football club. Um, you know, I would love them in charge of our football club years ago. Of course I would. Of course I would. But they chose Manchester City. However, if they had done the same under AFC Bournemouth's name as they did Man City, bang to rights. Bang to rights. There is no ifs or buts. It's not me turning around and saying, well, if Bournemouth were, in this, I wouldn't be making this video. No, I'm sorry, but at the same time, Man City are bound to rights. 115 charges, and a lot of people said, well, 115 charges. There's so much of that to go through. Well, what you do is you go through the ones which can be dealt with the sooner. So let's have a look at this charge. Right, okay, this is a very, very minor charge. Scrap it out. But no doubt you'll find them. Then you've got Chelsea into the mix as well. And this is a big, big thing because, of course, Roman Abramovich was the owner of Chelsea for years. And again, there's been a lot of overspending, let's say. The Chelsea, when I was growing up, again, were a bit of a mid-table team. They used to flirt with the FA Cup every now and again when Ken Bates used to go mental. Um, since Abramovich come in, they've been completely transformed. And again, if they are found guilty of you know, all these effective charges, then they must be punished. And why must they be punished now? Well, the Premier League have opened themselves up now because they've charged Everton, who have had one charge. Everton have had one charge against them. Manchester City have got 115. Who knows how many Chelsea have got? You've got teams now such as Leicester, Leeds, Burnley turning round and saying we're going to sue Everton because we would have stayed in the Premier League. Now Leicester, no doubt, are going to be in the Premier League next season. They're by far the best Championship team that I have seen for the best part of a decade. Well, to be honest, for the past decade, let's say that, including, I would say, including ourselves, including ourselves, Leicester look outstanding. They do really look an outstanding team. So they're going to be back. However, I do agree they've lost out on Premier League money, and therefore it's up to them if they want to go after that. And, fair enough. Burnley, of course, were also relegated. And of course, Leeds have also been relegated due to um, Everton, so they say. Now, I don't think that any of these clubs have got any charges against Everton. Now, I'm not saying they haven't got a anything to stand on. I think they do. I honestly think they have got a claim to make, but they haven't got that claim to make against Everton because it's the Premier League who have delayed it and delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. If if it was, it should have been dealt with, there and then. It should have also been dealt with, and it shouldn't have been dragged out. These clubs have got nothing against Everton. They have there's no charges or anything that Everton need to answer because they've got punishment themselves. Everton, yes, it could have happened last season. Yeah, fair enough. Everton would have been relegated on that basis, but That's the Premier League's decision. That's not Everton's. That's the Premier League's decision. And they've opened up a bag of worms now. Now, who else is going to come out of the woodwork? We're looking at teams like Manchester United, spent a hell of a lot of losses over the past number of years. Man United could be up there. You're looking, to be honest, every single Premier League club is probably up for something, apart from, well, let's say Brighton, I think might be okay. Brentford might be okay. Um, I'm losing, even a lot of the teams that have gone down, Leeds, Leicester, you name it, they probably all could be charged with something. Southampton could probably be charged with something. We have spent 120 million, and the size of our ground. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that that is a hell of a lot for a team that's got an 11,000 seater stadium. Now, of course, we get Premier League money, but of course we've got wages to pay on top of that 120 million. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen to ourselves, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. That's basically what I'm saying. And Everton fans have got every reason to feel aggrieved, because this should have been, football's got a whole cleaning up to do. It's got a whole cleaning up to do. You can't. How far are we going back now? Because you could say that Everton have got a claim, against Liverpool those years ago for, not making the Champions League. You could say all sorts. You could say it's, what I'm basically saying, is that it's not. There has to be a cut-off point. There has to be a cleaning up act here. Everton have been stung, and personally, I think they should go, with all the armour and try and fight this, because they have been punished. But there's other teams out there who, could also be punished. Now, who's to say? Who's to say? And let me pick out any team. Nottingham Forest, right? Nottingham Forest, a team that have spent a hell of a lot of money since they've been in the Premier League. Now, Everton finish 3 points behind Nottingham Forest and are relegated from the Premier League. They've had this points deduction. Now, if the Premier League then investigate Nottingham Forest and do the same to them as what they have Everton, then I can fully understand why Everton fans would be absolutely furious at this. It's a complete and utter joke. It's a complete and utter joke. The whole league is a bit of a mess. The whole league needs to be watching out. I bet there's a lot of people sweating over this, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's people sweating at AFC Bournemouth. Wouldn't be surprised if there's people sweating at Nottingham Forest or whichever teams. There's probably people sweating at teams that aren't even in the Premier League anymore. Because what they've just done is they've opened up this whole can of worms against a team who, let's be fair, are fairly, innocent. Have they had a sporting advantage? No, they haven't had a fucking sporting advantage at all. Everton have been shit for the past couple of years. There's no sporting advantage out of that at all. Where this money has gone is it's gone on that stadium. And maybe, the only thing that Everton are guilty of is that they have probably over pushed themselves in the role of this new ground, which, let's be honest, it looks amazing, but it's costing a hell of a lot of money. And let's be fair, it's under 20 million. 20 million, that is a Dongo Atara or an Alex Scott, you know, it's not a lot of money. Let's be fair, if you gave a fine of 20 million to Manchester City tomorrow, they probably laugh at it because it's that small. Let's be fair, it's a bit ridiculous, this. It is ridiculous. So what I am saying in this follow-up video is, what do you do with Man City and Chelsea now? Do you, because 115 charges. Now, if a lot of those charges, and you think Everton have been done for one, if there's a number of charges which are quite similar and they deduct 10 points, Man City are going to get relegated. What happens if you go over a 90-point mark? And Manchester City are never going to get out of that anyway. Do you put somebody on minus 1,150 or something? Do you put Chelsea on minus 120? Because let's be fair, the following season, that's all those figures, are going to reset themselves as well. So, is it fair to then relegate somebody like Man City or Chelsea all the way to League Two or out of the Football League? I just don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't actually think there's an answer to this. Is there an answer to it? I don't think there's no answers at all. What we have here is a complete and utter shit show from the top. That they've charged the club with one charge because that club have, let's be fair, are probably an easier target than most. They're probably an easier target. They shouldn't. Well, let's be honest, they're not, because they're probably one of the loudest fans in the Premier League. Fair play to them. And let's be fair, that game against Manchester United, that they're playing, on Sky, is going to be an absolute hellhole for Man United to walk into there. That Goodison Park faithful are going to make all sorts of noise. They're going to really stamp their feet. And why shouldn't they? Because if they're being punished, you have to punish everybody else. You have to punish everybody else. You have to. You can't just fine one club, Everton, and go, everybody else is fine. You can't do that. You have to hit everybody with the same stick. I should say, what is the answer? You tell me what you think the answer is going to be. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button as well. Tell me what you think the answer will be, because I'm going to do a lot more of these videos. Please share, Everton fans, share this round to your friends as well, because I am right behind you, because I think this is an absolute disgrace. Everton are a club that actually I've got so much time for. I remember watching that game years and years and years ago against Manchester United, wasn't it? In 1995, Paul Rideout scored that winner. And yeah, always had a bit of a soft spot for Everton. So I'm hoping that they can get this sorted. Not at our expense. And I don't think it will be at our expense at all. I think, we hopefully under Areola are going to be motoring. But at the same time, I'm a great believer that it, a league table should be decided on points. It should be decided on, oh yeah, you've just been charged, with this, that, and the other. No, it should be decided on points. And that's all I really want to say about it. Yeah, like I say, like, subscribe, hit the bell, share it around to all your mates. Thank you, Everton fans. Let me know what you're thinking, Man City fans. I don't blame you. And Chelsea fans, I don't blame you either. And it might come across as harsh, and I might get some nasty comments because I haven't said that till the very end. But the fans are not guilty of anything here. The clubs, let's be fair. The Breakaway Super League, the Super League, right. Let's touch on that quickly. The Super League, Breakaway Super League. None of those clubs were fined whatsoever. That's points deducted whatsoever. They were fined, but those fines, like I say, give Man City a 20 grand, 20 million pound fine. They're just going to look at it, laugh at it. So that was pointless, and I think what they did was actually, well, put the league into disrepute. That was more serious than what Everton have done here. Everton have done a very, very minor thing in my eyes. You know, what those clubs have done was a lot worse. Let's be fair, you know, not all our clubs in the Premier League were behind that. And I know where that was all born out of, this European Super League, and it should never ever come back again. And if it does come back again, I hope that Man United, Man City, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool fans all walk away from it, because let's be fair, it's it's an absolute, it, it's born out of Real Madrid and Barcelona not being able to control their finances, because their owners just spend what they want. They don't care. They haven't got no. At, at the end of the day, that league has become a three-team league. Let's be fair. They're trying to push Atletico Madrid out of it. Um, it's it's not an exciting league to watch. They're in loads and loads and loads of debt, and they just don't care. They just don't care. So the Super League was all designed to get those two clubs out of debt. So why did we go along with it? I haven't fucking foggiest. Um, so hopefully that will all be quashed. And again, that's not the fans' fault. That's the club's fault. That's the Premier League's fault. That's the Spanish team's fault. That it's not a points deduction is always going to harm fans. That's why I'm dead against them. Dead against them in the EFL. Team goes into administration. What should you do? You should be taking the football club off the hands of these people. Let's be fair. Reading, everybody likes talking about Reading, but they and their owner, um, if he is not able to put money into a bank account to cover wages, like he's promised to do time and 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 time again, then the football club should be taken off his hands by the EFL. They shouldn't just leave it in his hands and leaving it to run, just leaving it to plod along. They should take it off his hands, and then make sure that he only regains full control of it when he can prove what he's done, which he's never going to be able to do. So he's going to flog the thing. So that's how the EFL can sort that situation out and sort situations out for clubs in trouble, not give them a points deduction and relegate them even more to make them less attractive to somebody else who wants to buy them. Um, Let me know what you think. I've rambled on for a good 25 minutes now. Thank you again. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, share it with around all your mates. Put the comments in there as well. Look forward to reading them.